What is going on, everyone? Welcome on in to Sports Talk with Bros. There you have it. Dave Dombrowski lands one of the big names, and I'm super stoked. Look, you have some versatility in the batting order now. There was a question asked about who was going to lead off. He had good numbers last season, hitting .297 from that leadoff spot, .385 OBP with 17 bombs. He's obviously going to hammer the baseball, pop all around, which is going to be magnificent. And when you know that you needed something and you acquired it, it should be a happy day. That doesn't mean the Phillies are done. It doesn't mean the Phillies don't have any other reasons to look at other players, because they do. But Dave Dombrowski is a very sharp mind. He understands it. This was inevitable, honestly. There was zero doubt. See, it's funny. You know how sometimes you talk to yourself and you're thinking in your mind and you're having some debate with yourself. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. But last night I'm thinking about the Phils, because that's what I do. That's how my life works. It's late at night. I'm staring at the ceiling, wondering what the hell I'm doing with my life. And all these emotions start flying around in my brain. And here comes Kyle Schwarber, topic number 57 of the day. Bang, Kyle Schwarber and Dave Dombrowski. And I was thinking, there's no way that Dave Dombrowski doesn't get one of these guys. There's literally no way in hell he was going to. They were determined. You know that Bryce Harper referenced these three big names for a reason, and he spoke today, of course, and also talked about hopefully we're not being done yet. We know there's about $10 million in play until the luxury taxes hit. But then I'll go back to Dave Dombrowski is added pressure to John Middleton. It's a blessing for us, the fans, to know that the track record of Dave Dombrowski is let's go win. Let's go do everything we need to do to compete. We're in the NL East that has the Atlanta Braves. It's got Steve Cohen and the New York Mets, and we know that they want to spend a ton of money, and they want to also do the best that they can. We have to compete with that, John. So the pressure of Dave Dombrowski and Bryce Harper as well, I don't know where necessarily they go, but I feel that the foot is on the gas, and Dave won't let this slip and just put his head, okay, whatever. No, there's no whatever in the mindset of Dave. And that's why I'm a little bit bothered by the fan reaction of what we've done so far. It's so negative. The Phillies right now, everything surrounding their conversation, it's so disgustingly negative. And I'm not here to sell you that this team is built to win a championship. My goal this year is with an expanded playoff run and an added team into the mix that they could squeak into the playoffs. That's what I would think is a reasonable expectation of what this team can do over 162 baseball games this season. So with that, this isn't Matt Klentak. I hate this comment when I ask, why is everyone so sad and upset? It's the Phillies. All they know how to do is lose. Yeah. The difference is you have a serious guy who knows the game and has built up the Detroit Tigers to the point where they had legitimate sustained runs year after year. Also, the Boston Red Sox wins a championship in an East Coast market with the Boston Red Sox. Does he have a narrative about blowing up the organization when he leaves and then it turns into dust? Yes, but he also has a track record of putting together a roster that is a championship caliber roster and knows what it's supposed to look like in a winning culture. He's got a lot to handle. He's got to keep the top squad, which is all the city cares about and what the league cares about. He has to keep them going and maximize where Bryce Harper is in his career with Zach Wheeler. And I'm also a little disappointed in the Zach Wheeler stuff. Yeah, he's slow to begin, and then he catches the flu and now can't pitch at all. I don't know. It's starting to smell a little funky. That's all. You hear Tatis Jr., a motorcycle accident, this and that. I'm not telling you that's what I feel is happening with Zach Wheeler. I'm just saying things are all up in the air right now, and I don't know how to necessarily feel about that. But numbing the pain is the addition of Kyle Schwarber and what he brings. So there's a huge, huge, huge addition made to the Phillies today. And while that doesn't fix every single maddening problem with the baseball team. It puts you in a different step and puts you forward, and that's what this is. It's little by little. That's why, while, yes, the bigger name players you discuss a little bit more than just a bullpen piece or just Odubel Herrera or just some of those minor signings, they matter, but when it's a Castellanos, a Bryant, or a Schwarber, it gets more attention for sure. But you have to look at the overall body of work when it's all said and done, and that's when you can grade what was added to this team. They still have problems defensively. There's no doubt about it. I'm nervous about the left side of the infield. I don't know if Didi Gregorius is going to play third base now. What? Now we got Didi playing third, and just like you're going to have a platoon in center field between Matt Vierling and Odubel Herrera, look, you got the lefty-righty matchup going on in terms of Didi and Alec Boehm. Alec Boehm hasn't really proven himself right now, and they like Bryson Stott and trying to throw him some MLB time by playing him at shortstop full-time. You got Didi and Boehm both having to prove themselves that they want to be here and that they can actually do some damage. Now, imagine if Didi actually turned it around. We talked about how disgusting the bullpen was for a long period of time, reasonably so. And we keep claiming, well, if they just knocked their saves in half, then they would have been in the playoffs. And that's probably very true. With that said, I can use that same logic to, what if Didi didn't suck? What if Didi didn't have one of the most frustrating years that we've ever seen? What if Didi was actually an MLB player, which he has been his whole entire life? Last year was so bizarre for Didi Gregorius. What if Didi, motivated, knowing that he's battling with some of these other players that realistically have zero experience compared to what Didi has done in this league? What if he's motivated and turns this thing around and crushes it? Then there's another lefty bopper. Now we just got more boppers and boppers all throughout the lineup, Bryce. And I think JT is going to stay healthier this season because of the DH. Less time behind the dish, can still get his bat in the lineup. And I even looked at back when he first got here, all those innings play. It's toxic. It gets draining. It gets a lot on your body when you're behind the plate at that age. Well, now you just keep yourself a little bit fresher. And I don't know, maybe some time at first base if Reese Hoskins going to hit the DH. I guess I'm just a little stunned with how... not mad. I'm not going to say fans are mad, but as soon as the signing happened, it's what's next? I don't care. What's next? This doesn't move the needle. This was the consolation prize. The consolation prize? I think as much as I would be okay with Chris Bryant, I would not complain for 1 second if you acquired Chris Bryant. I'm saying prior to bringing in Schwarber. But there is a bigger overreaction to the name Chris Bryant compared to everything. Now, proven winner. Can play a little bit third base, center field. Not that you want to live with him in the outfield, but it's serviceable. He's a pro. He gives you steady pro play. Good approach, good locker room, clubhouse presence, professional. That's why I'm not going to complain if that's something that is brought in here. But to say that Kyle Schwarber is the consolation prize, no one is, in theory. But the order for me was Castellanos, who can rake. When you look at his numbers, it's sensational. Then it was Kyle Schwarber. Then it was Chris Bryant. I keep hearing, What do you mean, What's this, Last year, 266, 32 bombs. Now, I don't know if he's going to be around the 270, 268, 266 type of hitter. I don't know. It depends on where he's going to hit in the lineup. We have options. And right now, I believe your best option is to hit him leadoff because you're so desperate in that department. And I'll take that over any other reason, any other option you got, whether it's an Odubel. See, Gene Segura could technically lead off for you, but I think he's way more comfortable in that two-hole, and that can help out this team tremendously. Last year, he had 245 out of that one spot. He hits closer to 300 when he's batting second. So I would like to keep it that way. And I could see this would be my preferred right now. Now, there's so much that is going to play a role. Who's pitching on the other side and injuries and how many games you played in a row. So this isn't set in stone. We see the lineup move every night because that's the way the game of baseball is played in 2022. But with that said, this would be where I think it can help you out the best. You put your players in the best positions to succeed right now. Kyle Schwarber at your number one. Remember, hit 297 at the leadoff spot last year with 17 bombs. Gene Segura batting second. Bryce Harper batting third. Reese Hoskins as your cleanup. JT Realmuto batting fifth. Didi batting sixth. Bohm batting seventh. Odubel or Matt Vierling batting eighth. And then Bryson Stott batting ninth, and that will round out your lineup. And the fact that, you put a lot of pressure on JT Realmuto last year in a batting order that was bouncing all around, and you were desperate to do so. But if he's more of your 5, 6, and that's where he's hitting, and now Alec Bohm is hitting seventh, and think about how much that moves everybody down in a more comfortable spot. Now, the only reason why I'm not fully, insanely, absolutely in love with it 1,000%. I'm at like 997% to be fair. But why that 3% is missing is because when I was thinking about what we were going to add to this batting order, it was what? Protection for Bryce Harper. And if you get Castellanos and then it's Harper, Castellano, you get that type of protection behind it. So, I mean, there are ways to get Kyle Schwarber in that role where you get a left-handed bat. I mean, obviously, Bryce Harper, lefty as well, but you get that right-handed in Castellanos. There's still a way with a Reese Hoskins to give you that breakup of lefty in Bryce Harper, righty in Reese Hoskins, Kyle Schwarber, lefty, giving you that bang, 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 good luck, how do you do, how tall's your husband? You know what I mean? Just smacking the baseball around the diamond. There's ways to do that, and there's other things that you can do as well. For example, just to give you an alternative, I'm not telling you I love this alternative, but this is courtesy of NBC Sports Philadelphia. They put out a couple. They gave out like 4. The first one I gave you was my own personal, and then they gave you out like a couple of other ones, and it was Gene Segura batting first, JT batting second, Bryce batting third, Reese fourth, Kyle fifth. So it was that concept that I just kind of laid out there that I feel could give you still that left-handed bop and that power that you're looking for. This dude can hit moonshots. You're talking third deck bombs. You're talking high second deck bombs. I mean, you see that grand slam that's trending on Twitter from last season when he was playing for Boston in a big playoff moment, and he hits this thing like no other. He's trotting around the bases. He's throwing his bat. He's getting the crowd all fired up. And I know that Andrew McCutchen was labeled as a guy that is a clubhouse dude that everyone's going to like. And considering you went from the debacle of what was Carlos Santana smashing television screens and taking baseball bats to the screens and all that because people are playing Fortnite and Gabe Kapler's running the asylum. So we were all pumped that you got this voice that could be heard and you think would settle things down a bit. Kyle Schwarber is different in terms of, like, Kutch is the veteran old guy. He's the grandpa of the MLB. He's the dad, the cool dad of the MLB that everyone loves. Kyle Schwarber's, he's like that dog respect veteran. He's that snarl in your face kind of, gives you a little bit of attitude, to be honest with you. He does. He gives you a little bit of that. I will say he gives you a little bit of that. It's not like there's heavier dogs, okay? There's meaner dogs out there. But there's a tiny snarl that I could appreciate that I think will go a long way. Some toughness, some grit. And if you follow the league, the Yankees just made a move for Josh Donaldson. And I enjoy listening around the baseball world. I'm nonstop baseball around. Nonstop. I'm tired of James Harden and Joel. I love them to death, don't get me wrong. They play tonight, and I'm looking forward for the game when they play the Cleveland Cavaliers. So, I care about them. But we've been talking about the same thing forever now about these two. I mean, I'm listening to National this and Sirius X. I'm listening to all this stuff. I can't get enough of it. And the reaction to Josh Donaldson is there's something to be said about, Gio was a nice guy and Gary Sanchez, nice guy, very toxic player in terms of controversy. You either love him or you hate him. But when the Yankees are dealing these players, they required someone that can give them some juice in their meanness, in their toughness. There's something about that edge that they put. You need some edge involved, and this is added edge that's almost an intangible that you can't really put your fingers on it. You can't grab it. You can see it, but it's more of a feel than anything else, and I'm a big fan of Kyle Schwarber doing that. In terms of 266, though, 268, 270, I think he probably lives closer to the 260 range. But if he's giving you 37 dingers, if he's giving you 38 dingers, That ballpark's going to explode. Get some guys on base in front of him. Reese Hoskins last year bounced back big time, and I had my questions. I had my concerns. Reese is changing up his swing, changing up his mechanics nonstop, and then goes back to his original mechanics after focusing the entire offseason on something new. Okay, this didn't work. Plan A didn't work. Let's go to plan B. So all offseason long, you're working on plan B. You get back to the majors for the next season, but you go back to plan A. Right, that was scary. Hey, you see all these in-depth pieces of him going through his swing and breaking it down to the nth degree, which I love, but that's why I was all concerned about it. And then here he is raking. The problem still is defense, though, and it's going to be tough at times. Now, you still need to add another guy to rely on in the outfield. A Brett Gardner, a Corey Dickerson. These are your left-handed bats, but you lose Brad Miller. And Bamboo Brad will tell you what. I know on MLB The Show right now, he's my hottest hitter. I had to plug him in every single day. I'm moving guys out. I'm sitting Chris Taylor. I'm sitting Mookie Betts. Get out of my lineup, damn it. I'm throwing in Brad Miller because this guy's just red hot, nonstop power swing. Let's go. So, unfortunately, Bamboo Brad and the 3 home runs that we saw in Chicago last year won't necessarily be there, but there's still some things to do, and I know Dave Dombrowski knows that. Keep in mind that you can complain all you want that all this Phillies organization knows how to do is lose, but there's a difference between having someone who understands the sport of baseball and someone who doesn't. Now, I'm just trying to keep my eye. Before we go to the phones, 856-442-9805 is the phone number to hop on board into the conversation here. I'm just checking to make sure we didn't miss anything. I know people are trying to get Didi Gregorius off the books and speaking about the luxury tax with some guys that are no longer going to be here next season. You know, it wouldn't be as hefty as a luxury tax problem as maybe John Middleton would perceive it to be with that. Now, I've made this discussion happen a billion times before. He does spend enough money. It's not his fault. You have to. He spends enough money to win a championship every single year. Well, over the Bryce Harper time and laying out that checkbook for someone to spend money, it's been spent the wrong way. Now, here's where the counter argument to my point is alive. If you're John Middleton and you're spending enough, you put Matt Klentak in the position to spend that money poorly. So you gave Matt Klentak the nod to spend that said money. Now that you made the mistake to give him that type of power, it's on you, knowing where your current roster is, which matters. The timing of when we're having this talk is absolutely in play. This isn't the 2014 Phillies or the 2015 Phillies. This is the 2022 Phillies that have a Bryce Harper coming off of an MVP campaign. It has a JT Realmuto in his prime at the catcher position. You just signed Kyle Schwarber. You have Gene Segura, who gives you hitting 300, 295. He gives you some really good, solid production in that 2-hole. And a good player. There's always been a knock on him. He's not a winning player. He's not the. Gene Segura is a good player. And I think that he could be an added bonus to a team that is properly constructed. And this team's forming out to get better. But I like Gene Segura, and he provides a lot. Now that it's the case, it's not time to be holding the wallet and pinching the pennies. And I agree with that. That's fine. I'm not anti that thought whatsoever. I do feel, though, that it's not fair to demand him to be Steve Cohen. No one's going to be Steve Cohen. And to say, like, oh, he has to spend as much as the Dodgers. He has to spend as much as Mets. No, he doesn't. And I would actually support John Middleton in that argument. No, he doesn't. When you're in top 5 of baseball spending money, you're spending enough money. Now, do you have to, stay true to yourself? Look at your division. The timing of the division is important. Because, look, they move on from Freddie Freeman, but they bring in Matt Olson, and then they sign him to a big deal. Imagine bringing in Matt Olson and thinking that that's a downgrade. And because I get it, that's sort of the talks is, yeah, but you had Freddie. He seems like a statue guy, someone who's going to be in Atlanta all the time, and then you just moved on from him like that. That's crazy. Matt Olson's phenomenal. Matt Olson's fucking amazing. This dude is going to rake. That's smart. That's savvy. It is. That's smart and savvy how they handled that situation. If they feel that strongly about Freddie Freeman for the next 6 years, not providing what they're looking for, but where Matt Olson is, they can do some damage still, some lethal damage, and I agree that they can do that. But, it's time to keep your foot on the gas. That's for damn sure. That is for damn sure. All right, with that, we'll start going to the phone lines. 856-442-9805. That's the number to get in. Good afternoon. You're on Broads Media. Hello.
Hey, what's up, bros? How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Just first of all, I love your content, so keep it going.
Thank you.
Second thing, with the Schwarber signing, I love it. I think he's the perfect fit for Philly, especially with Kevin Lawn. And I know everybody's going to be like, well, we still need outfield help. We still need outfield help. And I agree totally. But the one big question mark that I'm so terrified of with this team is you cannot have Alec Bohm being your starting third baseman. He defensively is still a liability. And look, I don't know. I know people are like, let's go after Chris Bryant and stuff. And hey, if Harper really and Dombrowski really managed to somehow do that and we still managed to get Bryant, though I do think it's not as possible now with the Schwarber signing, I think you plug him in at third base until you could find another long-term option, whether that's Stott or whatever. But my point is regardless of whoever you sign, Alex Bohm cannot be your third baseman starting opening day. The kid can hit. I think he's going to have a much bounce back season when it comes to hitting. But defensively, the team is going to cost a lot of runs up if he is playing at third base.
All right, well, I'll say this, and thank you so much for the call. I greatly appreciate it. Good energy, good thoughts all around. Although I will counter with the at the end, you're right when you say that he's going to be a problem defensively. But as you alluded to, if he can hit, then you got to ask him to maximize his hitting where you live with his defense. Reese Hoskins is the perfect example, right? Reese Hoskins stinks defensively. Reese Hoskins is a putrid defender. But because my man can give you 30 bombs, because my man can give you that power, because my dog can hit monster shots, well, then you can live with his defense. And if your team is going to have a Bryce Harper, a Kyle Schwarber, a Reese Hoskins, now you're adding a Bohm in your eyes that can figure out the hitting aspect of his game. Well, I think at that point, you're going to win baseball games due to your offense. JT Realmuto is another name in there. And I know people don't like Odubel Herrera, but if he's your eighth hitter and he's in the bottom of your lineup hitting ninth and he's 260, that can give you, and I know it's a platoon, so it's going to matter based off the pitching lineup. But I will say at the same time, even though it's somewhat of a unpopular opinion because we're all supposed to just hate Odubel, and I understand why. I'm not telling you you're not allowed to hate Odubel Herrera. You are absolutely allowed to hate Odubel Herrera. But from a baseball aspect here, if your ninth hitter is a 260 type of hitter that can give you pop and give you 20 bombs and give you something like that, he's not going to play the same as a starter because it's a rotational platoon piece. But I'm just saying from an overall standpoint, that's the pop that he does. He gives you hot moments. He gives you really ugly, hideous moments and times where he doesn't know what the hell he's doing out in the outfield. I'm not trying to convince you that he's a special player. I'm saying for a ninth hitter, an eighth hitter in the lineup, someone that has the upside to do that is not necessarily the worst case to be in. And when you apply the whole, well, your defense is bad. Well, if you got hitters to make up for those flaws defensively, that might be how you have to live. I'm not telling you I love that as my number one option, but based off of the circumstance that you have. I don't feel that they're going to land Chris Bryant. I would be pleasantly surprised, and I would be super pumped up, and I would like it. There's no way I wouldn't like it. You look at the age of some of these guys, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. You got this window of cushion with veteran players that are in that good age range to kind of, really try and put it together here and see what they have. But yeah, I don't feel great about Alec Bohm, but I just alluded to the Reese Hoskins thing too. I didn't feel good about him either, and then he became something really great. I believe there's something in Alec Bohm. He'll never be a good defender, though, so to put the expectations that he would is unfair. He's lanky, he's tall, he doesn't move very well at the hot corner, and I don't know where you can hide him. He's just an unhideable player unless, the answer is sitting right in front of our face, actually, with the DH, if the DH is the spot for him. But he's going to be moving around because JT, Bryce, Schwarber, all these players are going to take their time off in the field to play in just the lineup and play in the DH spot. So if he could just be, I hate to say, like, just below average at defense and a good power hitter and someone who can drive the baseball off the wall there in left field, it would be great. But I don't know. I don't know what to expect. I'm not going in with absurd expectations, but I'm fascinated to see how he handles his first real true stretch of adversity when getting to the big leagues. All right, let's go to Amadeo. Yo, Amadeo, what's up?
So what do you think? Opening day, Citizens Bank Park, Kyle Schwarber leading off first pitch, third deck bomb? How about that?
Now
You think that's gonna happen?
that sounds amazing. If you remember a few years ago, Andrew McCutchen hit us with a little bit of that as well. And what stings about that, it was so packed, and I got there so early, but there were 9,000 people trying to get in at all the gates. It took forever to get in. I'm walking to my seat when it happened, so I heard the crowd erupt, but I didn't actually see it.
Oh man, that sucks to see that.
I know.
Yeah, just looking at this thing, I'm trying to think. Like we all know, I don't think Dave Dombrowski is done. Do you think they try to unload Didi's contract? I know that's probably maybe a least likely scenario just because of how much he's making right now. But do you think he tries to unload it and maybe he goes after something else? Maybe brings another contract in just to get Didi off the team, or does he go after a bench guy like a Peterson or maybe a Soler or something just to add that extra bench piece?
Yeah, you need to add the bench piece, and thanks, Hamdo. That's inevitable. That has to happen. In terms of trying to unload Didi, let's put the shoe on the other foot here. I'm sure that he has attempted to see what is possible because he knows what he's doing. Who right now is buying stock in Didi Gregorius? Here's $5,000. Put $5,000 down on Didi Gregorius being an amazing player. Are you doing that? Are you buying stock right now in Didi Gregorius? Not really. So does that mean, though, that no one would take it if it's a different organization in a different spot and where they're at? And I mean, it just seems more of a great idea from us perspective more than an actual baseball move made by baseball people to go after a Didi Gregorius right now. I would love it. I wouldn't be against it. I'd be stoked if Dave Dombrowski could pull something off like that. But he's calling a lot of people around the league. He's making some moves, and it ain't finished yet. Now, let's get to bullpen side of things, because I know that there's a little bit of fear on what we got with Familia, and you got Knebel, and why am I drawing a blank? You got Brad Hand, and you got Seranthony Dominguez, who apparently is looking good. You want to buy stock into someone? Okay. You want to put $5,000 on someone's stock going up? Now, I don't know how it could go any worse, to be fair, considering on the journey that is of Seranthony Dominguez. I almost forgot he even existed in the Phillies organization, to be fair, because that's how much he's been down and out. But I'm in Seranthony Dominguez. I listened to Jim Salisbury, and I heard him, and he's breaking down how much leaner he looks, and he lost a lot of weight, and he looks determined, and you can see it in the way that he's throwing, that there's something there, and I'm like, let's go! Give me some Seranthony Dominguez sliders, Let me get that high 90 velocity, Let me get that one guy that you don't anticipate really being a dong, then he does. Sort of like Hector Neris. No one thought Hector Neris going from a closer role to that setup man role would be as dominant as it was. But then when you got it, you're like, holy hell. Ranger Suarez last year. Nobody knew. I'm watching Ranger Suarez highlights last night, including an infield single hit. I have an issue. I have a problem. I'm psychotic. But I enjoyed every single damn moment of it. But we didn't anticipate him going from a closer role on the road in Boston, getting some big-time strikeouts, looking high up in the zone, or great off-speed pitches, inside corner low. Oh, man, beautiful. But then he goes to a starting role, and now he's nonstop shutting guys down and giving you 6-7 innings. I mean, it's incredible. So can Seranthony Dominguez almost be that? I don't know, maybe, but that's the stock I'm buying into. And I like Connor Brogdon as well. Yeah, see, I see the chat room now. Brad Hand sucks. He had one bad year. It's a reliever in Major League Baseball, by the way. It's a reliever in Major League Baseball. Do your homework on how this goes with relievers. Good year, bad year. 2 good years, bad year. This guy had double-digit $1 million tied to his name before one season last year. Relievers have to, and I'm not telling you he's going to be the greatest in the world. I'm not telling you that he's absolutely going to be a no-brainer. But before you see him play, to just say automatically it sucks because he had one bad year, but he's all-star caliber years prior to that and gave you really good stretches for a long period of time. It's like, well, okay, you hate everything. You hate everything. I mean, Brad Hand, in theory, is not some devastating pickup. I'm not telling you I love the bullpen. You know what it is? It's a combination of guys that throw super hard but don't have the greatest accuracy in the world. Now, does that matter? Absolutely it matters. We were going from Rosso. We were using Austin Davis. We were utilizing, who else was in there? We had the Adam Morgan, although he had one stretch where his ERA was fantastic, and then once he got shelled, he kind of fell back apart. But regardless, who's the dude I'm thinking? De Los Santos, okay? Do you not see the difference between, and I'm not telling you these guys are great, but there's only so much you can do at the same time, too. Knebel's a really good pickup. You at least have major leaguers now. And, I mean, it is what it is. Yeah, I would love every best bullpen piece in the world, but I honestly guarantee that every bullpen piece signed, there would just be complaints because there's reasons why these bullpen pieces are available. Because everyone around the league shops them one year, shops for one another year, because the sustained success part of it is hard to quantify. So even though you look at Brad Hand's giving you a lot of sustained success, that's why you take a shot on someone like that, because it's hard to do. So when you see someone who has done it, you take that flyer, but it's a bullpen piece. They're up and down like no other in this damn league. All right, let's go to Aiden in Newcastle, Delaware. Good afternoon, Aiden.
How's it going? So, look, I like the Schwarber signing, right? But Dombrowski's obviously not done, but we still need upgrade at third base. Maybe Bohm could be there, and we need a left fielder too, obviously. But
that's who Kyle Schwarber. That's what Kyle Schwarber is.
You think so though? His defense is not good.
Well, no, his defense is not good, but that's what Kyle Schwarber is signed to play. He's going to be playing left field.
I still think that Middleton has to eat the money and bring Chris Bryant in, because he can not only coach Bohm at third base, but he can help fill those corner outfield needs when you put Bryce Harper at DH, or if you want to put Kyle Schwarber at DH. He can play both of those positions.
Yeah, I mean, the way it's going to work, though, is Real Muto is going to DH, Reese is going to DH. Anyone in the field is going to be DHing, and they use it as a rest tactic where you don't have the big poppies of the world anymore. Sure, there's the Nelson Cruz and whatnot, but it's a dying breed that in this era of baseball, you don't plug in a traditional DH and say you never play and you hit. You just analytically, you utilize over 162 that DH position to get Bryce Harper off of his feet in the field for, let's say, 15 less games, but you still get his bat in the lineup, and that's kind of what you kind of do it. So that's how the DH is approached, and I think that that's a responsible way to do it, to be honest with you.
I get that. I see.
Yeah.
They still have a little bit left. Do you think they bring in a guy like Jorge Soler still out there? See Austin Meadows getting thrown around. I think they bring in another guy like that, maybe.
Yeah, I do think, and thanks, Aiden, I appreciate it. I do think that they're still going to target some help that they need. I mentioned some left-handed bats off the bench because losing Brad Miller, where I do think they still need a guy that they can, for depth in outfield is monstrous for sure. Now, see, that's kind of where I'm at, where it's like, yeah, they signed Schwarber, but I'm not satisfied. I get it. This team's not perfect. They don't have a perfect team, but I think you gotta separate both, where you need to acknowledge how big of a signing this is and how awesome this move is, but know that there's bigger. But it's like, it's nice, but boom, third base. I gotcha. And then I already know what the response is to that. All this organization does is look. I gotcha. But now you have the equivalent to Daryl Morey running the Phillies. That's the difference. You had a bum. You had a loser. You had two morons, to be fair. The Three Stooges, John Middleton, Andy McPhail, and Matt Klentak pushing the buttons, where that's not the case anymore. So when certain decisions are made, I understand it's done with a very logical, methodical individual with knowledge involved making this decision and adding this certain player to the team, knowing that it's someone I could trust doing it. It makes it a lot easier to see what's kind of going on here. You have a pro running your baseball operations, and it's a good feeling to have. If they sign Chris Bryant, no doubt. I do think too. I mean, I like Chris Bryant. But I mean, people are making it seem like Chris Bryant is Aaron Judge, Fernando Tatis Jr., Mookie Betts. I like Chris Bryant, and it will help you out tremendously. It will be a big addition to any team. But if you just added Bryant and you didn't add Schwarber, You're in the same spot you are right now by adding Schwarber and not adding Chris Bryant. So if you're not satisfied with Kyle Schwarber because it's not enough, Chris Bryant, the player, people are talking about as if you sign Castellanos or if you just sign Chris Bryant, the needle is so much more moved. Now with Castellanos, I would agree. I think that right-handed power bat that's even better than Reese Hoskins behind Bryce Harper would do this team wonders. And that would have been my number one option if I could. But I don't know what he's going to get yet from the market and how big he's going to get contract-wise. I'm fascinated to study that move, and maybe that once again goes towards the Dave Dombrowski smartness of it all, which is if we see a number that's $28 million a year for Castellanos, or who knows where this is going to land, and then you think about that $8 million extra dollars, and that gives you the opportunity to sign someone else, then it's Kyle Schwarber plus for the same amount of price as a Castellanos. I don't know what Chris Bryant's going to get either, but it is fascinating for sure to think about it. So Mike Gill, who I worked with down at 97.3 ESPN, does a great job, tweeted this. I don't know where this is going. I just saw the first sentence. Here is what I like about Schwarber. Now, Gill's a good baseball mind. He manages baseball in the summers. His team actually just won one of the World Series. Was it Cal Ripken or Babe Ruth? I apologize. I forget what league it was, but it's a pretty big achievement for him. But anyway, I'm curious on where this goes. This is what he likes about Schwarber. Don't know what he's going to say, but here's my reaction to it. He's a winner. Phillies need a winner in that clubhouse. However, he isn't the final piece. They need another piece to this lineup and more pitching. Biggest question for me is where does he hit in the lineup? I think it's got to be, it has to be leadoff for right now. But I do agree that you wanted to bring in someone like a bopper to place in that middle of the lineup. Dave Dombrowski has been extremely vocal with everyone on what they were trying to accomplish. And during those statements, platoon in center field, didn't lie to you. We're committing to Bohm on the defensive side, but with Didi Gregorius, we're open to shortstop, controversy, and competition. And left side of the infield is up for grabs. Now we're kind of seeing that play out a bit. Now the Didi stuff is a little bit new, a little bit fresher, where, I didn't anticipate at the end of last season this being some sort of question mark on what they'll do at third, but have at it. The left side of the infield, they're very aware and telling you this is what it's going to be. They mentioned a big bopper in the middle of the line. They didn't necessarily get that with Schwarber because they don't have another leadoff guy. Maybe they find a way to plug in a leadoff guy, a steady Eddie that you could rely on, and then that moves Kyle Schwarber back in that lineup more, which was what you were looking for. Maybe that's the move that they do. But because of their other flaws and their other issues, it's almost like what they were looking for now has to possibly move into a leadoff spot. Now, he hasn't, in his entire career, it hasn't been anything mind-blowing from the leadoff position, but from last year's angle, it was really sharp, almost hitting 300 with that much home run power is amazing. Yeah, I see the chat going now. Harper wanted Bryant, but Bryant doesn't want to come to Philly. I heard that Bryce Harper didn't want to come to Philadelphia either. Remember that? Bryce Harper doesn't want to play in Philly. Bryce Harper doesn't like Philly. And I'm not telling you that means that there's nothing to this. Maybe he doesn't prefer the Chris Bryant I'm speaking about. Maybe Chris Bryant doesn't prefer playing in Philadelphia, but I'm not going to buy. You can't trust anything a lot of these media members say. There's a few that are specifically red radared, and that's Bob Nightingale, and that's John Heyman. These guys are clowns, and they get no respect whatsoever. It's the Ken Rosenthals, the Jason Starks. Those are the guys they have to be a little bit more prepared to study and all. But regardless of the whole Chris Bryant stuff is with Bryce Harper, did he want his friend here? Sure. I'm sure Chris Bryant has thought about what it could be like here. But I'm not telling you that someone doesn't want to play somewhere. That means they got no shot. You know what money does? Money talks. And money gets flown around nonstop. If the right money is somewhere, you're going to play. If you want to be in Miami because of the nice weather, I'm talking more basketball more than baseball, right? The no taxes. And somehow, some way, in a different city that has more taxes involved, but you're getting a bigger payday, and you go, look, money speaks. So that's all I'm saying. You saw it. You saw it. So where else are we here with some of these teams going over the tax? Yeah, I mean, the Mets are big spending. That's for damn sure. The Braves are just making very smart baseball decisions, and it's pretty insane to see a organization work the way the Braves are right now while studying all the Phillies moves over the last couple of years under the Matt Klentak regime, and it's night and day professionalism. And I don't know. I'm a little stunned that the tone of Phillies fans is what it is right now. I'm sorry. I'm all over the map right now trying to get back on track a little bit. But with the idea of baseball returning, I love the game so damn much that my energy isn't just surrounding the Phillies. Clearly, that's a high priority for me to study each night, 6:45, 7 o'clock. I'm on my couch. I'm ready for every single pitch, and I'm going to dissect the 5th inning in April on an 0-2 count to a left-handed hitter, and I'm going to bitch and complain about the 6th inning 2-out walk that happens that bothers me because that's just the way that I am wired. But I'm also this juiced and this amped and this excited and this all crazy heavily involved right now because of I just love the game. I can't wait for my 3 TVs in the man cave going, and I got the Seattle Mariners who just added Jesse Winker to the mix to try and break their playoff drought. I'm going to watch Gabe Kapler and the Giants to see if they can transform from last year into even a bigger weapon this season. Even though they overachieved and it seemed like just one of those miracle seasons for a squad, where do they go? Do they bounce back? Yankees, Red Sox, listening to Michael Kay on the Yes Network while he's calling Yankee games. Fantastic. I'm all in for that. So I feel that I'm so much more on a high, and I'm so much more on an emotional high because summer, night to night, all of it just means so much more than just Philly. So I guess with some of these harsh types of messages towards what the Phillies are doing, and it's a very regionalized sport, so I understand I'm more of the outlier, but if your vision and your diehard fandom of baseball solely lies on just the red pinstripes, well then I guess I can comprehend why it's irrelevant to where I'm at with some of these thoughts. It's irrelevant to get to where I'm at with some of these thoughts because I'm looking at the overall big picture. I'm loving all these moves. Every single squad is making a big splash, it seems. Where's Freddie Freeman going? It's been amazing following the action. Started out slow after that lockout, and we all anticipated that right from the jump it would be magnificent. Now, I never even got to Mike Gill and what his thought was, which was his number one thing he loved about Schwarber that stood out to him immediately, which was he was a winner. Go look in October baseball. This dog is out there playing in October. You want the cold weather. It's chilly. It's October. You get the windbreaker on to throw a little bit earlier in the day to get your arm looser, getting to the ballpark, right? All that fantastic stuff that goes with playoff baseball. This guy's there. He's always there. He's a veteran in that area. And I mentioned Cutts being someone who's respected before, but there's a different viewpoint here. There's edge. There's fire. There's toughness. There's someone who seems to have a little bit more of like an emotional right now grit involved. And if you don't think that personality doesn't matter, well, then shame on you. If you're back in the day and you're a 93 kind of guy and you're a big fan of what was being done on that squad, it was all about personality. It was all about character. That's why the city loved the damn team. It's because of the people on it and the way they played in their grit and their toughness. I think Schwarber gives you some of that as well. Maybe not the most ever in the history of baseball. Don't blow this out of proportion, but there's enough there knowing that this team needs something. They need this attitude when they're going to be competing in a tough division. For sure. $5 donation coming in with Just Call Me Flair and a comment. I don't usually watch baseball. Can you explain this move in NBA or NFL terms? Okay, so if I'm going to compare this to an NBA player, I think that would probably be easier than NFL. No, don't listen to Frank. Frank hasn't said one smart thing today, and I've been seeing him in the chat for over 45 minutes, and not one smart thing has come out of his mouth. So he is a bad defender, but how about this? It's better than the name I'm going to say. So I don't know if I want to say this name in particular. But if I told you, just to lay the ground, and it's someone recent, better than a Seth Curry. He's not a star, but he's a very good player. Better than Seth Curry. That might be selling him short. So if you want to use that as the guideline of that being the floor of what I'm discussing here, which is a better than a Seth Curry, that's where I think he's at. Better than a Seth Curry. That's probably where I'm at. Off the top of my head, maybe I could think of something better. Maybe there's something better out there that I'm not thinking of in my mind. And maybe you guys can discuss it over on the chat side of the live stream. But that's what comes to my brain. Thank you so much. Just call me Flair. I greatly appreciate it. Someone mentions Chris Middleton. Maybe a tick below Chris Middleton. Well, okay, I guess I could get behind Chris Middleton. I could get behind Chris Middleton if you want to think of a Chris Middleton. Now, you guys are disrespecting him. De'Aaron Fox? No. Mike Conley? No. Karis LeVert? No. I think if you want to use better than Seth Curry and in that range of a Chris Middleton type, the difference is Chris Middleton's dropping 40-plus playoff games, NBA Finals. Kyle Schwarber's not a number 2, but most people don't look at Chris Middleton as a number 2. But I think that that's a fair type of look in general. Regardless, though, it's less about Chris Middleton and more about the fact that we added a lefty hitter here that's going to be awesome for the mix. They had an issue. Their issue was they didn't have enough power as we would like, and their issue was they didn't have a leadoff guy. They somewhat within one player just fulfilled that. Now, in my personal opinion, I'm looking for someone now to snag that leadoff spot out of Israel so we can go back to a juicier part of the lineup. But I don't know necessarily if I'm a betting man if I would say that there's an option out there that's going to satisfy me as much. I would have loved, because I did hear Jim Salisbury speak about this as well, don't rule out a trade. He basically admitted that there was going to be a signing happening. He was going to get one of the three. And knowing Kevin Long and the relationship between them two, Kyle Schwarber and Kevin Long, that is, and knowing where the conversations were prior to the lockout happening, that it was basically targeting Kyle Schwarber. He wanted him. He got him. He was the target. He was the guy that said, I'm going to acquire Kyle Schwarber this offseason, and he made that happen. So the aggressiveness of letting him out, this is the dude I want. But also mention the trade. I would have loved if you can get Chapman. If you acquired Chapman from the Oakland A's, that would have been outstanding. Honestly, and I know Reese is Reese, and I've been very open about this. I would trade Reese Hoskins. I'm not dying on the Reese Hoskins hill, but I bring that up to you because I know that might sound random. But if I'm Dave Dombrowski, and I get it, you're in deep talks with Kyle Schwarber, and you're not just going to put that on pause for anything else. When you're that close and you establish he's the one you want, you make sure everything's signed on the dotted lines. But when you see that Freddie Freeman is not staying with the Braves, and that Matt Olson blockbuster deal happened, and Oakland and Atlanta made that trade, I'm pivoting big time. Freddie Freeman? Freddie Freeman? Come on now. Come on. A lot easier said than done, of course. The Dodgers. I know teams are flirting around there too, the Red Sox. But once again, when John Heyman tweets this stuff out, it's hard to fully process. Is it real? Is it a smokescreen? Is someone trying to drive up the market a bit? Are they trying to get themselves in their own back and forth? So here they are. They're literally going back and forth with themselves because there's no one else really there trying to make the splash as much as it's being led on, I should say, with Boston. I heard an interesting take the other day about, not Kyle Schwarber, about Freddie Freeman. Boston signing Freddie Freeman. Could you think of a weirder relationship in terms of personality? Now, Freddie Freeman fits anywhere. Freddie Freeman isn't going to not fit in any market. He's a great dude. Class A class, whatever the hell it is. He's an unbelievable human being that is more than just the sport of baseball. He's a face of a franchise type of guy. Now, obviously, he's deeper in his career, and everyone's going to look at him as an Atlanta Brave when it's all said and done. But you understand my point. It's funny to think about the smiley guy that is, the guy who just loves the game as much as it is. It's sort of like, I don't know, Matisse Thybulle compared to Marcus Smart. You know what I'm saying? Not the same exact player. One guy can actually score a basketball. Not even at the most efficient rate that I love, but one guy can actually score a basketball and the other guy can't. But you see the difference in personality and how that matches up. Wouldn't it be funny to think about the toughness and just the approach? But I guess, to play the other side, Mookie Betts, this was more barroom conversation. It wasn't real. Trust me, I know I mentioned I love baseball talk, but I'm not listening to nonsense about, does Freddie Freeman's smile fit the Boston Red Sox and Fenway? No, it was sort of like a 3-minute segment of joking around and having some cold ones barroom conversation type thing. What do you think of that? But also, Mookie Betts worked out there, and Mookie Betts is a dude that just loves to take the field every single day, puts on the cleats, has a big smile. The expression's always there, too. So, for what it's worth. Am I a little nervous about the pitching? Here's a question that comes my way. I don't love the pitching, and I don't know what's going on with Zach Wheeler right now, and I have no idea if I could trust Aranola this season. Aranola 0-2. I'm saying count-wise, 0-2 count, or 1-2 count, 2-2 count. Anything with 2 strikes, it doesn't seem to work as much as we would like it to. That's for damn sure. Will he have a bounce-back year? Will he find ways to get going with those off-speed pitches? Will he use them the correct way? Will he dance around the strike zone? Because sometimes that's what he does. He flirts around. He goes down 0-2 or goes up 0-2. The hitter's down 0-2. He starts working around the plate a bit because he's not confident in the velocity, because he never threw high 90s. Now, it worked. When he's on, he's on. When he's amazing, he's amazing. There's no doubt. There's no sugarcoating that. But sometimes he loses it because he's not as confident in his stuff. And I could see that haunting him again this season. I don't know what to expect from Zach Eflin. I don't know what to expect from Ranger Suarez, who's coming off to a slow start here because of the visa issues. I guess the only guy that I can honestly admit that I know what I'm going to get is Kyle Gibson, which is a scary thought. I just don't know where Zach Wheeler is health-wise. And I feel they keep pretending like it's not that bad. But when the flu gets thrown in there, I know we're living in a world now with precautionary measures and COVID and all of it. It seems we're moving past it, but I get that's still a part of everything, where if you just feel a tad off, maybe it's best to sit down so you don't have to worry about anything at all. There's no reason to risk it. We're in the middle of March, and we still have plenty of time to ramp up. Just don't worry about it. Even though he was projected at this point to not necessarily start opening day, but give you a start within the first week, the first 6 games or so, the first time through the rotation, I should say, maybe to make it a little bit easier. And maybe now it's not. But at the end of the day, over 162, is that the biggest deal? No. But come on, you get the soreness, and now it's a flu, and I don't know, a lot of innings last year, and he played a lot of baseball last year, and then they didn't know exactly when they were going to ramp back up because of the lockout, and then it happened rather quickly, and now it's a quick turnaround, and now you got to figure yourself out in a very short amount of time. Is there something happening? And I'm not the one to throw negative thoughts here and negative shame on any sort of Phillies dialogue, because I like the way they're headed, and I think as an organization, they are handled professionally right now, even from the bottom, from everything we cared about last year. At the end of the season, we mentioned a lot. A lot of it came down to, though, where the systemic issues lied, from all the way down at rookie ball through the major league ranks. Every stop along the way, every destination throughout the ranks of Phillies baseball, there had to be an overhaul. And Dave Dombrowski, Brian Barber, Preston Mattingly. There's a lot of guys now that are very respected voices that are going a long way with how everyone's on the same page. That was the biggest knock. No one believed in the same system. What type of organization is that? There's no business in this world that would thrive in that environment. And now you got everyone clocked in with the right mindset and the right mentality, and that goes a long way. So it's more, I know it's hard to be excited about that because it's not something sexy, but it matters. Because at the end of last year, we were complaining that this team wasn't good enough on the major league field, but where is the entire franchise headed? They got 0 prospects. They don't know how to develop. They don't know how to draft. The reason why Odubel Herrera is here is because Mickey Moniak sucks. The reason why Odubel Herrera is here is because Adam Hazley sucks. They gave everyone, and I mean literally everybody and their mother, a chance to take that starting job last year, and they ended up by default having to use Odubel Herrera. That's a previous regime problem, not a Dave Dombrowski problem. But Mickey Moniak failed. Adam Hazley failed. Scott Kingery failed miserably. Where by the end of it, it's like, I don't know what you want me to do. We have to use Odubel Herrera because he's our best option right now. And then he ended up hitting 260 and gave you some bombs last year, some bat flips that might end up being a fly ball out the center, but he didn't want to do that last year. It just came down to inevitably what ended up happening by default. Odubel Herrera last year gave you, 13 bombs, 260? Chris Bryant hit 264 last year. Just to put it in perspective. We're pumped up about Kyle Schwarber, as we should be. He hit 266. Now, the difference is the amount of home runs and the amount of power that the other provide. But when it comes down to 260 as one of your last hitters in the in the batting order, when you're looking at your batting lineup, for $2 million, basically, 175, there's some incentives. So Odubel Herrera says he is growing as a man and his goal is to continue to mature as a person and believes he has learned from this experience. He understands there was and will be negative reaction to him returning, but he says there's also some positive reaction, courtesy of John Clark. Now, we know how much Bryce Harper is a leader in that club. I should say a leader with John Middleton and Dave Dombrowski. He's involved in every move. He's involved in a lot of these signings, and they're running it through Bryce Harper to see if it's okay. I bet you the same happened with Odubel. Bryce, what do you think? Bryce, how'd it go last year? What do you think about last year? Where this isn't a non-calculated decision. And I guess that's more of my big picture approach here with Dave Dombrowski is he doesn't just do something to do something. He doesn't do something out of control. Let's think of pool, billiards, if you will, as the example. When you shoot the ball for one of your stripes that's sitting there by the left pocket, it's all about the second shot. It's how can I knock this in and then put the cue ball in a situation where then my next shot, I am set up to do the same for one of my other stripes that's sitting on the table. This is an Odubel. There's a method to this where it's everything is calculated within Dave Dombrowski's shots that he's doing to sign. Steve Cohen, now he's getting a lot of praise for just throwing money around willingly, but I don't think that there's a real thought on how he's doing. It's just blind money thrown, and that may work. That might be enough. You know, the Los Angeles Rams, no, I think they did. They threw money wildly, but I thought that they did it more in a professional manner where there's a way to kind of do it structurally and with a proper ability to kind of digest everything to make sure things are adding up. I don't know if Steve Cohen knows how to do that necessarily, but that's why I think with me, this isn't just blind for no reason. I trust the reasoning behind why they utilize this method. I was confused when I first saw it. What? Odubel, really? We're doing this again? That was my first thought. But then as I took a deep breath, it's okay. Everyone just has to take a deep breath. We're going to look at the overall signings as an entire package, and I don't know how you can be disappointed with it when it's all said and done, even with the more moves that are going to happen. But everything's so negative and mean right now towards the Phillies. There was a video of Reese Hoskins being struck out by Aranola. Go look at the comments. This guy sucks. Reese Hoskins is awful. Back where he belongs. Walking back to the dugout in disappointment. What? Because Aranola, a guy who was a number one in this league for quite some time, and okay, let's say he's a number two, but someone who is good, he's good. We're frustrated with him, but Aranola's good. And in spring training, when you're doing live batting practice, when you first get down to Clearwater, when you get locked out and show up on a very short-term turnaround, that Reese Hoskins struck out. Oh, he stinks. Oh, he's awful. This is going to be terrible. What are we doing here, people? What are we doing here, people? So that's my thoughts. I'm looking to see if we got anything else before we wrap things up here. But those are my thoughts on where we're at. I can't wait to see what's next. I can't wait to see what Dave Dombrowski does next, whether it is a bigger name or if it's more just the complementary pieces when you think of a full roster and they still got $10 million to play with before luxury tax purposes around there. And we are getting a phone call, so we'll definitely rock another phone call before we wire it down to the end here. So good afternoon. You're on Broads Media.
Hey, bros.
What's up?
How you doing, man?
I'm doing
This
good.
is Corey from the Eastern Shore.
What's up, Corey?
So now we have Kyle Schwarber, right?
Yes.
Do you still think we're going after Chris Bryant or what?
My
You think,
gut tells me no, but I'm not ruling anything out.
I mean, you know, him and shoot, I can't even think of his name.
Bryce Harper?
Bryce Harper, they're friends. So
Yeah, I think that Bryce Harper has a lot of voice and a lot of opinion and a lot of conversations with people at the top. But thanks, Corey. I appreciate that. I'll make sure I'll save your number. And if you're going to be a caller that calls in a lot, make sure you text into the Anytime hotline, 856-442-9805, with your name and where you're from. So then when you constantly call in, you know, I can call you by your first name, have more of a back and forth dialogue, have more of a relationship with who I'm talking to as you continue to call into the show. So I greatly appreciate it, Corey. I think that he talked to them and said, I want Castellanos, Schwarber, or Chris Bryant. I want one of those three guys, and then let's, keep building and seeing what we can do. His comments today was very loud, in my opinion. It was, hopefully Dave Dombrowski's not finished yet. And I'm paraphrasing a bit, but it was about that. And it was about that message of, we got to keep going. We see what other teams are doing in this league right now and in this division. It's time to keep our foot on the gas and sign more guys. And I believe there's added pressure, understanding Bryce's thoughts, understanding the current spot of the NL East, that if Dave Dombrowski, who is a known go-getter, sees this too, that there's conversations happening with John Middleton about what they have to do. I trust Dave Dombrowski. Dave Dombrowski has a very sharp eye. Now, ultimately, he might be handcuffed and not able to do it because John Middleton doesn't give him the nod, but that's not because of lack of judgment by Dave or by Bryce Harper. That then would turn into a John Middleton as being a major problem type of dialogue. And until that is fully known and we are fully aware of that, then I won't have an opinion on it. If that's the case, I'll lose my mind. If he's willing to open up the books a little bit, knowing what next year means for some of these players coming off the books, well, then maybe that is happening behind closed doors when thinking about what is next. But I still believe there's going to be enough left to give us some talking points, and there has to be. This is not a completed roster yet, and we'll see what exactly they are. It just comes down to what level do they fall on our rank? What tier? What type of move is it? Is it tier 1, which is a Bryant? Is it tier 2? Is it tier 3? Is it the Brett Gardners? Is it the Corey Dickersons? Where exactly is the next stride going to take us? And with that, I just can't thank you all enough for hanging out with me. If you are new to the channel, make sure you're hitting that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up button. If you're looking to buy tickets to go to any event, you can utilize the promo code BROADS at SeatGeek's checkout page and get $20 off. And then lastly, of course, TikTok at Broads Media. We're incorporating a lot of fun over there, so make sure you hit the follow button at that particular spot too. And with that, thank you guys so much, and we will see each other very shortly. The Sixers play tonight. Talk to you then. Have a good day, everyone.